When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them, because they need you.
Welcome to the recap. We're here starting Diddy trial day number 3. Kim and I have been chatting as we started the show, and there's something I'm seeing out there, Kim. There's a lot of defense for Diddy in a weird way, where there's a lot of shaming of Cassie. She knew what she was doing. Oh my God, she had every opportunity to leave. I see some of it in my comments. I guess I'll just say it. I don't want you guys here. Like, it's so clear you have never been, I guess, luckily for you, you've never been in an abusive relationship or have been close to someone who has, because you are just completely ignorantly ignoring the problem of the power imbalance control. And no, I'm not, this isn't something like, whoa, sure, maybe she hooked up with Diddy at first thinking, let's see where this goes. Maybe I will have a career. I don't think she'd deny that in the beginning. She admits she was in a relationship, but then he took that to a really bad illegal place. And that's something that I think a lot of people, including myself yesterday, weren't really paying attention to, which Tanya said so eloquently, Kim, which is the fact that, yeah, these charges, right? Retribution, what's the word? I'm blanking on, not the trafficking, the other word. Racketeering. The racketeering definition, if you actually go into it, yeah, legal activity to keep an employee under. She was an employee, Kim. She was a music under his label, being promised all the moon, recording these albums that never got to get out unless he did certain things. There's a lot that I think people aren't really fully paying attention to. And so I just want to set the tone now to my mods, because I got a lot of complaints yesterday. Yes, I'm all for everyone's different opinions, but be respectful. We have a lot of survivors in this chat, and I'm not going to be here allowing you guys to go try to say she asked for it, because I really don't believe that. Just because she was involved in some of this in the beginning and maybe felt pressured and didn't know, doesn't mean she didn't have the right to change her mind, and then clearly did. And so let's set the tone there, and let's be fair and pay attention to the facts. And the fact that, yes, you can still be in a relationship that you think, oh yeah, and then realize, oh no, this is really going south very quickly, and now I'm scared for my life, and I'm just doing this to appease him so I don't die. Kim, am I crazy, or do you want to add anything before we begin?
No, you're not crazy at all. And there may be points today, Andy, where I may interrupt you a little bit and talk about this a little bit. I have not been in a DV relationship, but I do have a history of CSA, and I have spent a lot of time in trauma therapy and a lot of time understanding what happens to the brain with trauma. And so I am not an expert on this. I can only speak for myself, but I think I can give some context to some of the things that she does here. And honestly, I was seeing comments of like, well, who does that? It's like people who are traumatized do that. People who experience insane amounts of trauma make choices that to the average person don't make sense. But what you have to understand is at the bottom of all of this is survival. And for her, there was also love. It is possible to fall in love with a monster. There's a lot of dialogue through this today where she talks about that when these things were happening, his eyes went black. The person she loved disappeared and was no longer there. So it's almost like there's two versions of Sean Combs. And there's the version she loved, and there is the version who hurt her and who took pleasure in hurting her. And this does happen. It is real. If you don't believe it's real, I'm really happy for you, because it means, as Andy said, you haven't experienced it or you don't know someone who's been through it. But this is a very real phenomenon. It is very well documented, and we're going to see it all today.
Yeah, I am going to keep with that, because I think it's important, even if it adds to the length, because I just see a lot of people out there who just don't get it. And
no.
To try to claim that Cassie wanted this, as everyone in the chat is saying, who wants this? Nobody wants the level that it got to. Maybe there was a little bit of, oh, okay, what's this? I'm going to curiosity in the beginning phases of their relationship, but this turned into something disgustingly nightmarish. Nobody wants this type of stuff. And fight or flight kicks in. A lot of stuff that you just, If you really want to just keep saying, well, she had every chance to leave, you can just leave, because that's not the type of audience I want here. You can go watch another channel with respect. Let's agree to disagree and move on, shall we? So for everybody else who's still here and wants to hear the story, it doesn't mean that Cassie's fully telling the truth. I'm not trying to declare that. That's what this is all for this jury to decide based on the evidence. But I'm really getting sick of hearing a lot of the comments and mods. You can start bouncing or warning. I'm not here for the "she asked for it" type of a narrative that is getting louder and louder on the internet. Because I don't believe that at all. Let's get into the facts of what happened. Trial day number 3. So before the jury entered, Kim, Alex Fine was in the courtroom. That's Cassie's husband, right?
Yes, if I can clarify this, because we talked about this briefly yesterday and we got a bit more context, and I want to make sure that we're up to date, that if we say something that maybe wasn't completely true or we didn't have all the details, we make sure we get into that. So we're going to do that right now. So yesterday we heard that Diddy's team was opposing Cassie's husband from being in the courtroom while she testified. What we heard about that was that there were text messages apparently between Alex and Diddy, where Alex allegedly threatened Diddy. So Diddy didn't want him in the room. What we found out today was these text messages between Alex and Diddy apparently happened in 2018. This was after Cassie and Diddy had broken up. And Cassie, unfortunately, today does get into details about this, that she is alleging that Diddy R'd her. The text messages that were sent to Diddy from Alex were in reference to after this happened. So that's why he was mad, okay? It was not, for no reason type thing. I'm not saying that it's okay to threaten people, but I think most of us can understand where that rage would come from and why someone would do that. So there was a point today during the testimony that Alex was not in the courtroom, from what I have heard, because of that specific incident. But he was allowed to be in the courtroom for parts of the testimony. But that's what
good to hear.
happened.
Yeah, because I was worried they were going to try to use some sort of reasoning. Well, he heard the test, so now we can't. So now they are paying attention and they are doing the right thing.
Yes. And
so
it is possible.
Anything that's relevant to this, he needs to step out. And so it's good to hear.
And
they're
it
all
is
paying
possible
attention.
that Alex will take the stand at one point through this trial.
It's going to get intense, guys. This is only getting started. It's clearly a lot is going to be happening. On top of that, there was a whole, before we got into Cassie again, a whole thing about who will see the freak off videos. As Kim was explaining, I was watching part of that, right? They brought in some partitions. There was a whole sort of thing where they were trying to, sort of privacy screens, because again, the jury should see it, but the press and the people in the gallery can't. So they figured out, but then apparently the defense was like, well, we want to see it on our monitors. And then it's like, well, then how are there was a whole bunch of issues there, which I suspect Diddy's team was making complicated on purpose to try to just not let it happen. But the judge will ultimately decide who will see these freak off tapes. That was the other big update before Cassie took the stand. So
there was one other thing quickly. The defense also was under fire because apparently they're not turning over their exhibits. And these exhibits were due on April 27th, and they haven't done it. So the prosecution was like, we don't want an ambush. Where are these messages? What is going on? And Mark Agnifilo responded, and we have the tweets from Inner City Press, so basically saying, well, he doesn't have to because the burden of proof is on the prosecution. And then if you scroll up one on the he literally finished it by saying, I would be surprised if the government only has 3 other hours with Ventura, but whatever. So that was the tone before the day even started. But whatever.
So then Cassie took the stand.
Yes.
New photos and texts were shown to the jury, originally from Cassie's devices. The text showed a conversation between Cassie and Diddy after the hotel incident, where Diddy claimed that he was going to be arrested and pleaded with her for help for his kids' sake. These are here we go.
It was specifically that the 1 and 2 source there is talking that there were 2 thumb drives, I believe. So each thumb drive was talked about separately.
Text messages were revealed between Combs and Cassie from after the altercations that read, "Call me. Yo, please call me. I got 6 kids." As if that's her fault. Please call me.
Call me.
Yo, please call. I'm surrounded. Call me for my kids' help. Look how he immediately turns to use those kids as a shield to try to
And
get
I
away
mean-
when the walls close around him.
We know this was at the hotel. We've seen the video. At what point was there like, I'm surrounded. Ah.
There's one dude, right? That one guy that's insane. He's a hero.
done.
My God. He got to pin Diddy against the wall. You missed that video. Check it out this morning. But man, epic dude. So
she responds, put
he's
your
got
robe
kids,
on.
Kim.
Yeah, but she responds back to him, put your robe on. And he's like, call me now.
Call me maybe. I don't think she's gonna call. I don't think she's done. Put the robe on, because he was running around the town. He was just looking out. He again texted her. She said, call me, call now.
Call me now.
Juror responded, telling Combs that she spoke to security and the escort left. She told him, as long as you don't disturb the guests, they'll leave you be.
Yeah.
Wow. What a monster. People were saying, don't, we were calling him an animal, but we had a lot of people like, don't call him an animal. Animals have better decency than even this man.
Say Lacey is offended.
Yeah, a lot of animals were offended by it. All right, so then photos of the Punisher. Oh, is it gonna? Oh, here we go.
No, there's no photo of it. It's just they were shown.
Oh, I was excited to see this Punisher character.
No, there are.
But they
some
showed the
photos.
court Punisher.
Yeah. There were a good amount of photos shown today of different escorts who were involved in this situation. So she left, like we know, she took an Uber. She did take photos to show her injuries. And when she returned home, a friend was there and saw her injuries, was really upset and called the cops. Now, the cops did come. Cassie answered a few questions, but she did not tell the police that Diddy did this to her. And in that moment, she didn't want to hurt him. That's very common for people in DV relationships. And then later that day, he came to her apartment banging, kicking, and yelling outside of her door. She said this was pretty normal behavior for him.
And then later that evening, she went to the home of one of Combs' security guards, D-Rock. I really didn't have a lot of people. Cassie said D-Rock and his wife were close friends. Combs also showed up there later. So she really had nowhere to go. She was clear. It's just so sad because she was trying, as happens in a lot of these relationships, Kim. That's why I think it's important we keep reminding people who want to say, she asked for it. Look, she could have left at any time. It's not that easy. She's then now stuck in this place that she's put herself in and that she's been unable to leave due to threats and everything else. I can't even imagine. Prosecutors showed an image of Cassie and Diddy after an after party following the 2016 movie premiere for The Perfect Match, which Cassie starred in. The premiere was a couple days after the incident in the hotel. There is apparent bruising from the incident. Ventura testifies that she had a larger bruise in her thigh concealed under the dress. This had been previously reported. Cassie preferred to take...
There are photos of that if you want to see.
I don't want to see the bruising. Might make us harder. But
it is
more
documented.
substances during the freak-offs, which sort of took her out of it so she could not be as present.
She preferred a specific substance we're going to call K.
Yes.
Diddy liked it too. But apparently he didn't like when she was on it because it took her out of it for too long. But she preferred it because it really helped her to dissociate. So that was nice. Hi, BJ.
Oh, look who dropped in. It's that surprise. Another surprise witness.
Yay!
That surprise witness of BJ. What's up, BJ?
Hey, I am just technologically challenged. I just spent like 10 minutes trying to make my camera work. It's
okay.
like
You were streaming all day.
blurry.
For those that aren't, my goodness, she's been crushing it, doing these replays so we can hear it. We don't have to. So I all hail BJ for taking that bullet and reading all this in real time live on a stream. Kim's doing it as well for us, but thankfully she doesn't have to be on camera all the time. You're performing all day long. You must be exhausted. So thank you for making time and prepping. We're in the midst of the recap.
Thank you for keeping me company as well as
Yes,
as I
you're
go
keeping, I think,
back
a lot
to
of our
all
viewers
this stuff.
comfy too.
Yep.
So we're in the midst of the recap. We're talking about then the freak off tapes weren't going to be shown. There was a break. All right. So after the break, Cassie comes back. Cassie recounts hosting a party in Atlantic City. Hosting became a main source of income where she heard that someone had seen a explicit video of her. Diddy texted her and asked her to get as much information as she could, writing, "You got to tell him this is your life and this is serious. Jeez." She spoke about recovering from the freak off, saying that she used IV fluids, massages, and meals prepared by a chef. Ventura also had ongoing off and on addiction to substance pills, which she would take to come down from all the substances she was on earlier during. They made her feel numb, which is why she relied on them. She testified that the freak-offs would lead her to UTIs, mouth sores, stomach issues. It got to the point that antibiotics didn't work anymore. She told the court her and Diddy would go to clubs as part of the swingers lifestyle Combs wanted them to have. The Punisher would sometimes go with them. Cassie didn't like the clubs, but considered the Punisher a friend and to be a safe space. She would rather have relations with him than strangers. At this point, she speaks about other incidences of ABUSC, several instances where Combs hurt her in front of other e-courts. Another event where he got upset that she wanted to go to a music festival in Toronto, hosted by Drake, who entered the chat. I saw you mention that, BJ. I'm sure he loves being mentioned here.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's OVO Fest, but I mean, that was a moment. That was, we're like, oh, great, Drake's here now.
And she was in a picture with French Montana, too.
Mm.
There. Based on my reading of it. Because I was like switching back and forth through all these different ones. And one news source called it a music festival in Toronto. And one of them was like, run by Drake. And then one of them was like, posted a picture with French Montana something concert. But they were describing the same event. So I think that was, I don't know. Who knows? It's all reading tea leaves because there's no cameras.
Which is so frustrating. So Diddy threw her down. She hurt her eyebrows on the corner of a bed, which had resulted in a permanent scar. One of Combs' security guards took her to a plastic surgeon that day to suture the injury. She said during a stay on the friend's boat from Cannes, an argument led to him kicking her off the boat with her passport still on board. He accused her of stealing substances. She claimed she was wearing a beaded dress, and he would grab her leg and squeeze as tight as he could. Later on the plane ride home, she switched seats so she wouldn't have to sit next to him, but then he traded seats with the person next to her on the flight. He played videos of freak-offs that she thought she had deleted. That's, my goodness. Combs told her that he was going to embarrass me and release them. So she's deleting these videos, but he's keeping copies, which then is terrifying, but then implies maybe he had access to her whole phone account or iCloud account, maybe, as she's deleting stuff. Maybe he's also gathering everything that's on there. What do you guys think?
It really, I'm not 100% sure. I think the biggest thing that I took away from this is, to everybody that is saying, why didn't she just leave? She had people who went after her if she did leave. You have these instances like she's on the plane. She's trying not to sit beside him, and he's still like manipulating and changing the situation so that he can sit beside her. Make it make sense. She's trying. She can't get away from this man. It's like a rash. Just keeps coming back. It's insane.
She then was presented this text message where she makes a good example. You treat me like Ike Turner, she wrote to Combs, a reference to the marriage, the really troubling marriage with the late musician and Tina Turner. He was abusive and controlling. He put me down a lot, as much as I would be built up. The sheer embarrassment, how he treated me in front of other people. Ugh, awful. Awful. He then would, another conversation, send a sweet message on Father's Day saying, can't wait until we have a baby of our own. So she's just going through the roller coaster of emotions here, as a lot of victims do. Are you seeing that too, BJ? We started the show sort of just calling out this idea, like she asked for it. She clearly was in it. Is that frustrating you as well?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Make me. I try to go case by case, right? I'm not a person that's going to say believe anything. I want to hear the story. I want to hear the facts. I want to see the evidence. So in this particular case, what we've heard from Cassie so far, and I do find her so far myself, from what I can tell, based on tweets and inside the courtroom impressions, I find her to be pretty believable. I find her to be pretty credible. And so in this particular instance, whenever people are saying, why didn't she leave? If they are saying that, which I'm sure they are, y'all are saying y'all saw people saying that, obviously they are. I would agree with Kim. Like, she did leave. Stupid. She did leave. They tracked her down. I think the terminology that was reported is, quote, hunted. They hunted her down. So, I mean, she did leave. So for me, that is also what it comes down to, is like, she also took, in the opening statements, Diddy's lawyer, Teeny Garagos, said that Diddy takes responsibility for the stuff that he did do wrong, you know, the domestic abuse, the DV, et cetera, but now it's time for Cassie to take accountability for what she did as well, or whatever. And it's like, well, I mean, I heard her do that. She said, She admitted to a lot of stuff. She said I did do it willingly at first. Yeah, I mean, I was a little enamored, I think she said. She said, you know, I was trying to make him happy. Looking back on it, I wish I wouldn't have, et cetera, et cetera. But she's like, she did say it. She said, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I hit that girl in the parking lot.
During the lunch break, judge instructed the attorneys not to engage in witness coaching. The attorney for Mia said he needed to be able to talk to her on breaks to support her as her nerves are through the roof. And then X-rated photos were admitted into evidence, but only the jury could see them. Cassie was shown an image of this Mia. She said she knew who she was. She also identified Jules, the Punisher, in another image, and another image of her and Jules. These images are reportedly from Ventura's devices. Cassie also shared that some employees quit after witnessing Diddy's actions. This Mia is a person we're going to be hearing more from. There's speculation she may be one of the witnesses, correct? No? Am I crazy in thinking that?
I believe we are going to be hearing from her. I think she actually worked for Diddy at one point.
I think this is victim 4.
Yeah, technically.
Okay, got it.
But we believe Mia is not her real name. Mia is a fake
yeah.
name at this time. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. But they're just introducing this person who will then become part of this story as well. So a female juror let out a deep breath, rested her hand on her chest as an image was placed on the monitor before her. A male juror looked at the screen and his eyes appeared to move away quickly. The Washington Post reported that jurors did not have noticeable facial expressions. So you got conflicting reports there of some sort of overdoing. That's pretty common in these cases. I remember that during Depp too. Everyone would sort of different versions of what the jurors were doing in trial. She said she did. Cassie did say she saw no injuries on Diddy. Prosecution then asked if Ventura was injured as a result of Diddy being physical. Cassie said she had been and would require days of recovery. She was about to elaborate on that, on where she would hide out, but Diddy's lawyers objected. Anything else to add before I keep going, Kim?
It seemed like a very fast-moving part of the trial. I think she really wanted to start getting into that at points when she had been injured, that she would have to stay in hotels for a while to recover so nobody would see her, but she did get cut off very quickly. And it was a very human moment of her saying that, yeah, she had been, violent with him at points, which I think is something that Diddy's team is probably going to really jump on. But I think it also, at least for me, as I'm watching this, I'm going, I mean, I kind of get it. I'm not in favor of it. I don't ever think that violence is the answer. But I mean, the amount of stress that she was under, the amount of substances that were in her, she clearly was not in her right mind. She saw him say something to a woman, allegedly. She was jealous. And then it escalates much further when he gets involved. And I think that was their point, is that he was not injured from what she did, but she became incredibly injured from what he did.
They're definitely going to use this against her. They've tried to.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that before where, she started it, is the fight. So that's where this all came from, which is all incredibly disturbing. Nobody should instigate anything, but given all that she's being put through, and, it could have been reflexes at this point.
Yeah. Reactive A is a thing,
Yeah.
And this is something you have to consider sometimes when you look at these cases. No victim is perfect. But my goodness, the intensity, you really, really felt it at this point.
And that's when the name Roger Bonds came up, a security driver who was one of the witnesses, apparently who saw it at one point. She said the aggression didn't end until after they arrived at Combs' residence, at which point she ran out of the car. Bonds caught her and brought her into the home. She testified. Inside, Ventura saw her face. I didn't look at like myself, just knots and bleeding, swollen everything, she told the court. She recalled that she was vomiting when Combs appeared, and his demeanor transformed once again. The person he switched over to during the car ride was now gone. Combs was freaking out over her injuries. Yeah, because he's worried about, oh no, now what?
Yeah.
She said he told her to sneak out of the house with security and hide in a hotel. She checked into a room that night. Cassie's mom told her there was a blind item about the incident that did not mention their names. Cassie told her it wasn't true. Cassie spoke out about Kid Cudi. Cudi? It is Cudi, right?
Cudi.
I think it's Cudi. It's not Cooties. And how they dated in 2011 when her relationship with Diddy was on and off. Diddy found out and went through her phone during a freak-off, found an email where Cudi mentioned bringing Cassie's toiletry bag to his house. Diddy put a wine bottle opener between his fingers and lunged at her. She was able to escape Cudi's house. She then spoke she escaped to Cudi's house. She then spoke with one of Diddy's assistants and went to see Diddy. Diddy then threatened her and Cudi saying Cudi that he would release the freak-off videos. During this encounter, Diddy kicked her in the back. She left, went to her hotel with her burner phone. The room was torn up. Someone peed all over the floor, pooped in the toilet, and didn't flush. It was gross. This event happened just before Christmas. Of course, we got to add some poop in here.
You gotta have Poopgate here. Always.
You can't.
Always.
You gotta add
Never-
that.
Gotta have the
never
poopy
complete.
gate.
You always gotta have it. It never
It's been
complete.
ongoing since 2023.
But also, just to reiterate, she's trying to leave. For everyone who's saying, why didn't she just leave? Here's more examples of her clearly trying to leave, and he's not letting her. So
Yeah.
let's not lose that, right? BJ,
I
go
really
ahead.
do
You got a
think
thought?
they made that very clear. There was many times she tried to go away. She tried to date other people. She tried to do other things. And it was like, not only was she not allowed to just simply go away without a little bullying, without a little career interference. Like what was described was violent, physical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's disgusting. She called off the relationship with Cuddy. She taken. There was an instance in Christmas. Go ahead, Kim. You want to set that up?
So she then the Poopgate thing happened around Christmas. She then went home for Christmas, and her mom saw the injuries and took photos of her. She let her know a bit about what was going on. She did not tell her about the FOs. She just didn't want her mom to be in danger. She didn't know how to justify it. She was scared. A lot of emotions. She then decided to call off the relationship with Cuddy because she was afraid of him getting hurt as well. Combs also told her that when she was out of the country, Scott, as in Kid Cudi's car, would be blown up. And at some point, yes, the car did get blown up. And there was a meeting apparently after this with Combs, Ventura, and Cuddy. And when Cuddy asked about his vehicle, Combs apparently responded, "What vehicle?"
Because it blew up, Kim. See what he's doing there?
But it's so disturbing. So disturbing.
I mean, it makes sense when you know Diddy.
It's like made my stomach drop when sometimes I could really imagine it, because the scene in my mind, they set it up, and it's like, he was just sitting there going, what vehicle? Knowing nothing wasn't ever going to happen to him. Well, thinking, I should say, incorrectly assuming.
Yeah, I really believe that too. He just never thought anything would ever come his way. He had everybody in his pocket. He felt untouchable. Bad boy for life. That was the whole song, right?
Yeah,
the whole label.
It's his whole lifestyle.
Whole label, whole thing. So
Cassie said there were too many incidents, right? Go ahead, Kim. You can set
no,
through this part.
it's okay. You could do it. It's fine.
Okay. Well, there were during the 11-year relationship, there were too many incidents to recall. She then remembered that some of his staff was visibly upset by the treatment. When D-Rock saw me, he started to cry, referring to one of Combs' regular guards. She recalled a incident that left her with black eyes, golf ball-sized knot on her forehead, busted up lips. Cassie saw Diddy do this also. I'm trying to say the word, aid. Two of her friends, she testified, saying that he held one of them over a balcony, 17th floor.
Yep.
In LA. And another, she testified that once her friend Carrie Morgan was in the face with a wooden hanger. She told the jury that she and Morgan, who had been close for 17 years, were no longer friends after the incident. It makes sense. She then sought professional help for substance use several times during the relationship with Diddy. She also says she did substances in 2022 and no longer uses them. She was also showed a video of a Santoku knife lodged in a door handle of her LA home. She put it there as a message to Combs in defiance of his frequent unannounced visits. Good for her. Again, trying to leave. Clearly trying to leave. I went out inside. He came in and arred me on the living room floor, she alleged in court. I remember crying and saying no. It was fast. His eyes were black. She always talks about his eyes turning black. He wasn't himself. It was like somebody taking something from you. She admitted she had...
I do want to clarify there as well. What started before that incident of what happened on her living room floor, they had dinner. Apparently it was like a closure conversation. It was supposed to be done. It was supposed to be over. And then this happened. And she said it happened very quickly. She was crying. She was saying no. She doesn't even know if he noticed that she was crying. And then she did admit that after this, she was intimate with him one more time. And that was voluntary. And when they asked her why, she said they'd been together for 10 years, and you don't just turn off feelings that way. Again, I think that's something that a lot of people would think is crazy. When you're going through something like that, that's not the first time I've heard that at all. There's a lot of really, really difficult things. I don't even know how to word this.
It's tough on
She
this
wasn't,
trial.
again, it's like I said, when it was like there were two Sean Combs. There was the man that she fell in love with, and there was the monster. And when the monster came in, black eyes, that person, and then, like she said earlier, after the incident, that person was gone. And Sean was back. So it's
If
very twisted. It feels very, very messed up, but it can happen.
you know, Kim, if I may
Mhm.
interject, to
Absolutely.
me, it didn't even seem. I see what you're saying. Now that you're saying it, it's like, yeah, I guess people probably thought that. When I'm thinking about it, though, it kind of is like, all right, she was with him 10 years. The last encounter they had of that sort, of intimate sort, was against her consent,
Mhm.
will, without going into too much details, but without, making light of it, serious, all that. It almost makes a whole lot of sense to me, a non-doctor, a non-psychiatrist or anything, that like she might want to reclaim that experience.
Yeah.
And, the last time actually was maybe a little on my terms, maybe, or something like that. Like, it's not necessarily like, oh, she must be just a liar. Like there's a lot of different explanations for things. Like, yeah, maybe she just still did truly love him. I mean, that is what she said. Can't just turn feelings off. But I think it's also like, she said she was in therapy. Like, she's obviously the type of person that will seek to try and recover and heal from a situation. She's admitted that today on the stand, and good for her. Totally was very blown away by her testimony and her ability to. I mean, she just started therapy in 2023. She's on the stand in 2025. Whoa.
Yeah.
And so, good for her. But I do see how it could be. Maybe she was trying to take a little control of agency back one final
I,
time, and then, who knows? She didn't say that. I'm totally speculating. But because of that speculation, because that came into my mind, I did kind of think like, there's possible explanation. There's reasonable doubt. There's probably, whatever. I don't know the word
yeah,
I'm
I
looking
hear you.
for. You know what I
I
mean?
hear you. It was a really hard thing to hear. Um, and then we kind of moved into this the end portions of her testimony today. The
Hmm.
relationship's done. She's moving on. She's with her now husband. And then it seemed there were text messages from Diddy where he basically started saying, I want my money. And
From
that was in
Alex
Well,
rep.
but
Fine.
I don't want to
Yeah.
skip it. She did go back to him. People are going to try to use this again
Yes.
as, oh, look, she's asking for it. She went back and had relations with Diddy again after
She
that night,
did.
which many are going to point out the defense will jump on that in the cross. So we need to be prepared for that.
They will.
Uh,
It's going to be brutal.
Without a doubt, that's going to be a big. So after he did all this, you went and back for more. This will be used against her tremendously. And look, it is even for me who's learn more about how this works. I haven't been in that type of relationship. It's gonna ask questions, Kim. That's a tough one to sort of get past. But again, I think it does fall into the same answer of, yeah, you're sort of, she's just not all there yet. She's still stuck in that mindset where she is going back to the substance that she's addicted to or whatever that can happen. So what do you think about that? I don't want to ignore that because I do think that's going to come up in cross to people who say, well, this isn't like she literally then went back to this guy. Why would you go back to her abuser?
Well, I mean, in DV relationships, it's very common for people to leave multiple times and then go back. That's incredibly normal. And I think BJ may have a point with her theory as well, that it's about seizing that control back in some ways. There's a lot of, you got to understand the brain is not thinking straight when you're in that position, right? And it's going to come to some very interesting conclusions that to the average person, it may not make sense. But when you're traumatized, your brain thinks different. And I think that's going to be the bottom line. I wouldn't be surprised if they have experts who speak on that. When she talks about it, probably when she's cross-examined, we may hear about that, like her process of trying to understand her own brain. And we'll see where that goes.
Now you were going into, there were texts then after that, threats that came in, texts that we were talking about, getting back to that. If I was you, I would get me my money, Combs told Ventura. Cassie said that Combs wanted to be reimbursed because her current husband, Alex, was formerly her personal trainer for Combs, who Combs paid for. Combs also texted, "You will not be threatening me," and said that she had too many iPads full of skeletons against Diddy. And the messages Ventura said, "Do you want me to tell the truth? It's way deeper than iPads." Ooh, she's finally getting some agency back. There was way more than freak off, she testified in court this afternoon. There was abuse. There was many things that happened over our relationship. So that's a big moment where he's sort of letting it go, but trying to still play like he can control her, and clearly realizing he's not going to be able to. Cassie then broke down in tears. She talked about going to rehab and trauma therapy in February of 2023. She said she was having flashbacks during a music video with another artist. She said she was thinking about unaliving herself. I didn't want to be around anymore at that point. I couldn't take the pain that I was in, and I just tried to walk out the front door into traffic, and my husband would not let me. As her kids were sleeping, Ventura told her husband that he could raise their family without her. "What kind of pain did Combs put you through?" Prosecutor asked. "I think more than anything, personal shame and having to carry the things that were shameful to him," she replied through tears. She revealed in the stand that she accepted a $20 million settlement payment a day after filing her explosive lawsuit. She said she was also in talks to write a book about her experiences when he paid her. "I wanted to be compensated for the time and pain and the many, many years of having to try to fix my life," she said in her, which, let's just be clear, you go, girl, and you get that money. She said her litigation at Combs is over and that she's testifying against him to do the right thing. "I can't carry that shame, the guilt, nothing that she took part in, hiring the escorts for the same freak-off parties where she said she was hurt. I was guided to treat people like they were disposable." Ooh, haunting final words as she then left the stand. She didn't leave the stand. She'll be there tomorrow as well. But a lot to go through and very emotional at the end, owning this all up. But we're not at the cross yet, right? The defense will have their chance to go back, and I imagine that will be where things get interesting because they are going to grill her. Yeah, BJ? Like, what is your expectation for the cross when defense gets to go up and sort of use some of this against her?
It's going to be bad, and it's going to take forever. The defense, Diddy's team, told the judge today they expect their cross-examination to last into Friday. That's the right now prediction. So it's like, think about, they thought that the prosecutors, for example, today said that they were going to take half the day. They ended up taking the full day. So multiply that with how long Cassie's now going to have to be grilled. At least a day into Friday.
Right. She'll be there all week.
For sure. But they do expect it to be done this week. They said.
But so is she done now? Or this is now the defense starts tomorrow? Or does the prosecutor still have time?
Defense starts tomorrow. They're going to do what's called the cross-examination. Then new stuff comes up in the cross-examination.
Yep.
The prosecutor gets to do what's called the redirect. I think it's what it's called. And then they get a turn, and then maybe some new stuff comes up, some stuff needs to clarify. Then the Diddy team get to go this is now the fourth round here. This would be the redirect or the recross, the recross. And then they could even go redirect. They can go recross. So who knows? Who knows? I don't think it's going to be done this Friday. If you think about it that way, they got to go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. They're saying that the prosecutor's saying just the cross-examination would only be half of it. I mean, more than half, because it usually does take actually longer. But I don't know if they're going to be done Friday. But the other issue is Cassie could go into labor at any moment.
Yeah. The whole thing is just absolutely bizarre. But the other thing that I can't help but think is if they are really, really brutal to her, I don't know how the jury's going to react to that.
It depends what they have, too.
Yeah, it depends how she responds, right?
And they're hiding. Not hiding. I shouldn't say that. Diddy's saying they're hiding.
They kind of are. They kind of are.
I mean, the feds, that's why they're fighting. That's what I meant to say. They're fighting. They're fighting in court over this morning, again at lunch, again in the afternoon after. They're going to have to go back to court at 8:30, fight about it again before court starts over what's going to be allowed in, who's going to be to talk to who, because they don't want the lawyers to be able to help the two clients, the three alleged victims, to respond to these surprise whatever they're about to spring on them, including first up Cassie.
Yeah.
And she was crying today, reliving this stuff. She was breaking down and stuff. So they were about to go right in. 4:30 p.m. They were ready.
Yeah, it's going to get intense. Tomorrow will be very interesting because, yes, we're hearing this is all credible, so believable. Now we're going to start seeing how the jury reacts to the reverse of, well, why'd you do this and why'd you do that, and what about this response? And it does, you said this, but you did this, and there's all they're going to try to do is chip away at the credibility to cause doubt, and that she was out to get the money or was an accomplice and she was consensually involved in this too. And sure, there were some bad days. So it's going to get intense. We will keep you posted on all of that. We also will have Ron Zambrano joining us, I believe, tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or Friday. We're trying to get around to him tomorrow, but he's available for the live. I was going to tell you, Kim, but I'll revealing to you all. He just joined us for a great video about my goodness, the breaking news, BJ. I know you've been busy, but Blake Lively extorted Taylor Swift. That's the latest that just broke while all this is happening.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a Popcorn Planet on that for me to watch.
You can watch that next, but Ron came on and talked. It's like they've now said, oh no, we need the deposition of Taylor Swift because it's a crazy update. And Ron is fantastic. We love when Ron's on.
Oh, I got to
watch
that.
And he'll be back because I was going to bring him in for this, but that breaking news made me connect, and he said, oh, I can join tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. We'll have some legal analysis from Ron tomorrow, as well as who knows what other special guests. But final thoughts from you guys for this recap. We may stick around for another minute, but I want to let you go, BJ, because I know you got to sleep and stuff. Final thoughts on this and what to expect?
I don't know what to expect other than it's going to probably be rough tomorrow. I am impressed with Cassie's resolve, and I found her to be credible. I did see some people kind of saying, oh, they could have done more. I don't know how they could have done more, because when I started this whole thing out, I'm thinking, what does the government have to prove? They have to prove that Cassie was actually coerced. She didn't have a choice. It wasn't like, oh, consent, no consent, zero consent. That's when she ran away. She was chased down. That was the other big thing I started thinking. And it's like, after this, I think the government did a great job laying out and showing me compelling ways over the years. Cassie did try to leave. She would get chased down. Cars were getting blown up.
Hunted.
It was dangerous.
Hunted. I like to use that word.
Hunted. Exactly. All that. So I have an open mind. Of course, there's 2 more months to go. So we'll see how it shakes out.
What happens if she does give birth tomorrow and they don't get to finish their cross? How does that actually affect a case?
I don't know.
I would imagine at that point, wouldn't they be allowed to show depositions?
I don't know. I think only if the person's like no longer alive. They may pause it or something. I don't know. Maybe they would who knows? I really have no idea. I'm sure it's
She's very pregnant, guys. And they're about to go out on her
pregnant.
hard.
Somebody got a picture of her. I saw it today. Infamous Sylvia got a picture of Cassie. I saw it.
Yeah, she's very pregnant.
She's really pregnant. I love that yesterday I saw from multiple outlets the word that they kept using was extremely pregnant.
Extremely pregnant, Cassie.
I just kept laughing.
Visibly, noticeably.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like very. I am nervous about how tomorrow is going to go for her. I think we are going to see a lot of shaming. I think we're going to see... A part of me is afraid looking at this, if I show my personal bias, this is an opportunity that Diddy has now to hurt her potentially one last time. And that scares me of what we're about to see tomorrow, because if what we are hearing about him is true, he's capable of a lot. And I hope she's okay. My prayers to her and her family and her unborn child today for sure, because I think she did a really good job, but it's very difficult. And I definitely think we live in a world where people are very uneducated when it comes to trauma. And she handled herself very well today from what we could see.
And I just want to thank I want to thank It's
Yeah.
Kim for doing such an amazing job helping the recap today and all this week. Make sure you go follow and subscribe to It's Kim. And thank you to that surprise witness who's been watching it all for you guys live and kicking it everyone over here. Well, guys, there it is. We did a whole other show. We talked about this Blake Lively Justin response with John and Natanya, who showed up. Such a wonderful show. Typically, we wouldn't stay this long, but we wanted to. If you want to watch the full show, you can become a member today. Click the link down below in the pinned comment. I'll put it there, and you can watch the full uncensored issue. We'll be back tomorrow with day 4 with the response, the defense's turn against Cassie. I suspect it's going to be brutal. Hoping Natanya will be able to join us because I would love your light tomorrow. Because I can't imagine what it's going to be like with that pregnant woman on the stand, how far they're going to go. So stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button. A lot is coming. Thank you to BJ, who dropped in earlier. Thank you, Kim, everybody here. Kim's been crushing it. Please go support her. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching here on Popcorn Planet.